Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dr. Leila Lewis. I am a board-certified OBGYN, and I also have the honor and blessing of being the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of Your Best Pathway to Health. We are so glad that each and every one of you have joined us tonight. I cannot tell you how excited I am that we are now just a few short weeks away from Pathway Phoenix. This is a long time coming. Many of you have never attended a Pathway event before, and I promise you, you're in for a life-changing event. Before we get started tonight, I'm going to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Benny Moore, to have opening prayer for us. Benny, could you please lead us in prayer?
Certainly. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day that you've given us to serve you. And Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to be part of your work in Phoenix, to be able to, on your special day, the day we celebrate your birth, to be able to offer these much needed services to the people in the Phoenix area. So Lord, as we meet tonight with our volunteer crew, we're so thankful for each one of them, but we just thank you for them, and we thank you for the privilege of meeting to learn more about this event. So be with Dr. Leila as she leads out tonight. And I pray that you will help us to learn the things that we need to and to be encouraged as we move forward with this endeavor. This is our prayer. We ask it in Jesus' name and for his sake. Amen.
Amen. And thank you so much to all of you who have joined us. Again, we are very excited for what God is going to do. So Your Best Pathway to Health, again, as an introduction, I am Dr. Leila. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Your Best Pathway to Health. And we, of course, all know Pathway Phoenix, December 25, 26, and 27 is what we are here to learn about tonight. Before we really get into the nuts and bolts, and by the way, we are going to keep this distinctly to an hour. We're going to spend about 45 minutes or thereabouts on the presentation. It's the first time through. Don't worry, there's a lot more information coming. This is the very first webinar. You don't have to be worried. It will get more detailed. But we feel like it's very important to tell a little bit about the history of Pathway. That way you'll get an idea of what is coming. Many of you have not participated in a Pathway event before, and we just want to give you that experience so that you know what to expect. We will be talking about some details at the end, but again, please don't worry. If we don't get through all the material, there's much, much more coming. So what is Your Best Pathway to Health? Your Best Pathway to Health is a Seventh-day Adventist organization. We're actually a part of the North American aspect or division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and our purpose is to use Jesus' methods to provide physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing through free health services such as free medical, dental, eye care, and surgical services to uninsured and underinsured people. To give you just a quick overview, I'm going to play a 1.5-minute video right now of what took place from the media's perspective in previous events.
Long lines expected at the LA Convention Center for the next couple of days, not for a concert or a show there, but for some much needed health care.
Thousands of healthcare professionals and volunteers are providing much needed medical and dental care to people without insurance.
And today is the final day of a 3-day health clinic at the Los Angeles Convention Center. People who are uninsured or underinsured can get free medical and dental services. No insurance or identification is required, and you do not need an appointment.
This is so extensive. They're offering haircuts, free clothing, as well as surgery for a lot of the people here who have been lined up overnight to get this free medical service.
The mega clinic was organized by a nonprofit called Your Best Pathway to Health, a humanitarian service of the Seventh-day Adventist Church that puts on mega clinics all over North America.
A humanitarian clinic put on by Seventh-day Adventist Church. No ID, no insurance, no problem.
10,000 people are expected to pass through here over the next 3 days, and organizers say they're going to try to process as many people as they can.
This was so special to watch, all the healing being done. It's called the Best Pathway to Health. Unlike any other mega health clinic I've seen in LA, we're talking, there were actual surgeries being performed inside the convention center today.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church has put on this massive clinic in cities across the country. It's the first time organizers have brought it to Los Angeles in its third year.
So that gives you an idea of what we are going to be experiencing here in Phoenix. And I just want to show you just very quickly, being Jesus' hands and feet. We are Christian. We're a Christian organization. And, you know, it's just a wonderful opportunity to actually be the hands and feet of Jesus. We're going to call him Sean. Sean was one of our patients in Spokane. He came to us. You can see him there at the far left. He was a homeless gentleman, had not been able to have any medical care or dental care for years and years, and also had not had a haircut, by the way, for a very long time. He was very surprised when he came into the event because it wasn't just a normal health clinic, if you will. Everybody was greeting him with "God bless you, we love you," praying for him. He felt so loved. By the time he got his dental work done, he'd heard something about there might be haircuts being offered. And he asked if that was the case to one of the chaplains and one of the hospitality workers, patient assistant transport, whatever you want to call it, was transporting the patient around. And they said, you know, yes, we do have beautician and barber services. Why don't you come over there, Sean, and let's give you a haircut? And so there he is. There's Sean right there getting his haircut. He's very happy, as you can see. But that wasn't the end. He also found out that our men's tailor area had provided brand new men's suits. And there he is right here with his brand new men's suit, his new haircut. And he said he was going straight from there to get a job at a job placement agency. God be praised. But most importantly, he gave his heart to Jesus that day. With tears streaming down his face, he accepted Jesus into his heart, his life. And his life was both physically, emotionally, and most importantly, spiritually changed. And that is the purpose of Pathway, to meet the whole person needs of each individual. Pathway began in 2014. Our very first event was San Francisco and Oakland. This is a picture of Mr. Bevan Dufty. Mr. Dufty was in charge of housing and urban development for the city of San Francisco and essentially right underneath Mayor Arwen Lee. And it was through Mr. Dufty, through unbelievable, miraculous events, that God opened the door for us to be able to have our very first event there in San Francisco at the San Francisco Armory. Between San Francisco and Oakland, you can see the bottom picture. We serviced 3,100 patients. It took the nation and the world by storm at that point. It was something that nobody had ever seen before. Surgical procedures being done on the floor. These are the gentlemen there who were actually the bodyguards of the Armory. And they were so, so touched by what God did. This is Mr. Paul Cobb. Mr. Cobb actually is the founder and CEO of the El Mundo San Francisco and the Oakland Post and the San Francisco Post as well. You know, we had made absolutely no inroads with Oakland. We were 3 weeks before the event. And so when you hear in a little bit some of the challenges that we're facing with Phoenix, I would ask you to put your faith to the test. Put your faith to the test. We have seen city after city after city where we do not have the answers. We are trying our very best, doing everything humanly possible, but ultimately it's up to God. So we were 3 weeks before the Oakland event, and I have learned this, and I am learning it. God is still teaching me to truly put my faith in him. So we're 3 weeks before the Oakland event. We had no venue site. Every door was slamming shut. The mayor's office of Oakland, unlike San Francisco, was not very open to the idea of us coming to Oakland. And through God's providence, he put us in contact with Mr. Cobb. And Mr. Cobb, who was, again, very influential, very obviously connected with his media, etc. He was also the campaign director for Hillary Clinton in her first campaign, if you will. And he immediately contacted the mayor of Oakland and stated, you know, I want an appointment for these people. By the way, we had already had an appointment and had made absolutely no process of advancement whatsoever. So Mr. Cobb in one day gets an appointment with the mayor and calls me up and says, hey, can you come to the Oakland to meet with the mayor tomorrow? I said, okay, sure, I'll be happy to be there. Went to the mayor's office that next morning with several others of our group. And this time around, the reception was very, very different. Mr. Cobb walked into the room. Oh, Mr. Cobb, we're so glad you're here. Yes, I'm glad to be here too, Mayor. I just want you not to make an embarrassment of me with my church. Oh, Mayor, what church might that be? That would be the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Oh, that's just so wonderful. And what are you trying to do, Mr. Cobb? Well, they just need the Oakland Coliseum so they can provide free medical, dental, eye care, and surgical service. Absolutely, Mr. Cobb. We will get that for you. No problem whatsoever. 3 weeks before the event. We got all the police, off-duty police officers entirely for free. We got enormous response, free media publicity, the full support of the mayor's office. Unbelievable. The morning of the Oakland event in Oakland Coliseum at 6 a.m. and the pouring down rain, we had 3,500 patients lined up, pouring down rain. God truly blessed. And here's a picture you can see of the Oakland Coliseum. So I guess what I want to encourage us with is when you hear in a little bit, we're still having some problems. Things are not entirely worked out in many ways for Phoenix. It's okay. We can put our trust in Jesus and we can expect great miracles, each and every one of us, me foremost, but all of our administration and each one of us as volunteers. This is a prayer, the war zone. I mean, I always say that we have entered the war zone, and the power of prayer is what is going to bring about unbelievable results. We are going to be able to touch thousands upon thousands upon thousands of patients' lives, Lord willing, as we all work together collectively in unity with prayer, dependence, and obedience to Jesus, and the results will be phenomenal. Our event in San Antonio, April in 2015, we were able to service 6,200 patients in 2.5 days there at the Alamo Dome and the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center, which, by the way, the mayor of that city, again, that was a process. They originally said, yes, we'll give it to you for free, and then retracted their offer. We had no idea where we were going to end up. And again, God, in his own timing and his own process, gave us that facility entirely for free. And what an unbelievable blessing. Pathway Spokane, another miracle. That was in just a few months after San Antonio, August of 2015. No budget, absolutely no budget to be able to do Pathway Spokane. And the Lord worked it out where we actually came out ahead. 3,200 patients, I believe, were serviced there in 2 days in Spokane, a much smaller city. And then, of course, the largest event we've had thus far, April of 2016, Los Angeles. This is a picture, actually, you could see that giant, huge sign from the 10 freeway. This is the Los Angeles Convention Center, 312,000 square feet, 4,000 volunteers, over 8,500 patients were serviced. And the most important thing, 8,500 patients were serviced with whole person care, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. And again, as a Christian organization, one that believes that this is what Jesus did, what a wonderful opportunity to offer entire whole person care to the community. We had a smaller event in July of 2016 in Beckley, West Virginia, and that was also blessed by God. So statistics so far, just under $90 million in free healthcare since it first began in 2014, 7 cities, and just under 30,000 patients have been serviced. Los Angeles, these are the numbers. I'm not going to go through them, but what I want to point out to you is our goal for Phoenix is between 7,000 to 8,000. I still think, Lord willing, if it's his plan and his process. I was just talking to a gentleman who's the owner of most of the franchises for McDonald's in Phoenix, and he told me, Mr. Mellon said, don't limit God. Don't limit God. Don't tell him tell the people you're going to get between 7,000 and 8,000. Don't limit him. The sky is the limit for God. So we don't know, but that's our goal. $38 million in free healthcare there in Los Angeles, and we're expecting something similar in Phoenix. So what is Pathway to Health? We are a mega clinic collaboration, meaning many, many, many different entities working together to be able to put this on. Many corporations, many individuals, all again working for one common goal. And the greatest of these is love. And that, by the way, is the theme for this Christmas. This Pathway Christmas is the greatest of these, love. There is no truth. This is from a book that I very much enjoy. There is no truth revealed more powerful than that which is made manifest in works of mercy to those who need our sympathy and aid. So there's no truth. There's no information that we can share that's more powerful than to be able to provide mercy and aid to those who are in need. So again, the other aspect of this, trust, pray, and depend upon God, but unity. We are unified, working together as one group of people, one body of believers, working for a common goal, and that is to help the underserved. And again, of course, we are preparing for December 25, 26, and 27. And I want to add something. I know Pastor Benny mentioned this in his prayer, but I want to mention something as well. Christmas Day, December 25, regardless of your religious background, most of the world celebrates December 25 as Christmas. And December 25 happens to be the day that we celebrate as the birth of Jesus, which was actually the gift of God, the gift of eternal health, if you will, to the world. And what a beautiful, beautiful opportunity as a group of people to be able to give that same gift, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual healing to the masses on Christmas Day. It's a beautiful thing, and that very fact has gained the attention of many, many very high up dignitaries and influential people. But most importantly, I believe it's what Jesus would have us to do. So where is the event? The Phoenix Convention Center. We have 307,000 square feet. Is George Gilbert on the presentation? I'm not sure that he is. Is that correct, Benny? I do not see his name. Is that correct?
Let me just look again and see.
So as Benny's looking, we're just going to keep talking.
I don't see him.
Okay, the Phoenix Convention Center is the largest, and by the way, I am a resident of Phoenix metropolitan area. The metropolitan area of Phoenix is the largest metropolitan area in the entire United States. It's the 7th largest city in the nation. Obviously, it's my home. I actually grew up in Phoenix. I went away for undergrad, medical school, residency, and I worked in California for a while. But other than that, I've lived all my life in Phoenix, Arizona. So I do love it, and I do have a burden for my city. Well, Phoenix Convention Center is the largest convention center we have here. It is owned and operated by the city of Phoenix, and that's just a map for your information. If you would like to know more as far as other lodging, we do have lodging information on the website as well as RV information. You can request that from George Gilbert specifically with the RV. But as far as the hotel accommodations, you are not required by any means to stay in the recommended hotel. However, the Hyatt does have the best rates. Some of the rooms are now filling up. So again, we would encourage you to investigate that as soon as possible. So many people ask the question, and probably none of you on the line because you're already registered, thereby you got an invitation. But many other people say, well, I'm not medical. What role can I play? There are so many, many roles. Obviously, right now, we're going to talk about the specific needs for Phoenix. We are still in great need of eye care professionals, and we could use more dentists. I don't think you can ever have enough dentists. There's several subspecialties that we're in need of: ear, nose, and throat physicians, dermatology, pulmonology, but everyone is needed. Absolutely everyone. You know, in our dental department, we have a lot of plumbing and electrical needs. And so we need plumbers and electricians. We need men and maybe women as well to be able to move things around. Big, you know, we have 7 semi-trucks, semi-trailers worth of equipment. And so we need things moved and hauled. We need people to help with computer entry, many, many, many other things. Beautician and barber services, legal services, the list goes on and on. And I know some of you have had an experience with Pathway in one capacity or another, but many of you have not. And what I can guarantee you is your life will be changed. And once you do it, it's an addiction. For those of you who have participated before, you know, you're asking, when is the next Pathway event and how can I get involved? Because it's such a blessing to be able to help others. I can't tell you every single morning of a Pathway event when I drive up to the event, and I'm just one little person, right? I drive up to the event and I see thousands upon thousands of people in the dark, hoping against hope to be able to get inside. And all I say to myself, and even verbally out loud, is, God, get me in there faster. I got to get one more person through that door, just one more person, because it's one more person's life transformed. But most importantly, it's our own life transformed. How many people have said, you know what, I've gone 30 some years of being a dentist. I've never prayed with a single patient. I'm going home to make up for lost time. It transforms communities. These are pictures of different mayors. This is Mayor Ivy Kwan up in the upper left-hand corner. This is the mayor of Spokane in the bottom left-hand corner. Mayor Ivy Taylor from San Antonio. God makes a huge impact on these cities. This is a letter from actually Eric Garcetti to Pathway to Health, as well as the Seventh-day Adventist Church, thanking, from the city of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti, thanking this Pathway and the church and all of us as volunteers individually for giving to his community. This is Mr. Levy. He's one of the individuals who was in charge of the union, and so touched by what we as volunteers get the blessing of being the Christmas gift. You are the Christmas gift to some patient this year. And Mr. Levy was so touched by that he is going into upcoming cities and helping us with the different unions. I want to tell you a very, very quick, very short story about what's happening right here in Phoenix. We've talked a lot about other cities. There are some amazing, exciting things happening right now as we speak. And the reason I want to share this is because I think hearing the miracles and knowing that God is at work helps us not be afraid of what we don't know exactly. So I want to introduce to you Mr. Mellon. This is Mr. Mellon. Obviously, this is 43 years ago with Mr. Mellon. Mr. Mellon was an individual. He became acquainted with the McDonald's franchise owner, the head McDonald's owner many years ago. And he states God's providence in his own testimony, he became the owner of nearly all of the McDonald's franchises in the state of Arizona. And Mr. Mellon, through a mutual friend, became a friend of mine. And now Mr. Mellon is seeking to help us to overcome many of the problems that we've encountered as far as the food industry and that kind of thing with Phoenix, which you'll hear more about in a few minutes. But also through Mr. Mellon, I had the opportunity of speaking because of him and Dr. Troy Anderson to the Rotary Club of the West Valley on Friday, and then right after that to the Rotary 100 Club. Had the opportunity of meeting many people, many influential people, including senators, the state of Arizona, and many other individuals who are also working to help us to solve some problems. And every city that we've gone to, we've seen God do that people's hearts are softened and they see, as we become the gift, and in this case, the Christmas gift, they too want to, in their capacity, to be able to be the Christmas gift. So I want to encourage you, please pray for these individuals that God will continue to bless them and give them wisdom, and also that they will be able to help us resolve some of the problems that we've encountered. Patients' lives, of course, are greatly impacted. Here's a patient's information. This is a letter from a hysterectomy patient from Los Angeles, stating, God bless everyone. I'm one of the patients. I would like to thank each and every one of the volunteers of Pathway. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank God I'm recovering from my hysterectomy. Truly, you did an amazing job. May God continue to bless all of you. A million thanks from the bottom of my heart. Of note, we will not be doing major surgical procedures in hospitals at this point, if that has not happened, but we are adding conscious sedation. So our ability to do surgical procedures on the floor is going to be exponentially increased. In fact, we'll be doing cataracts on the floor, scopes of the bladder, cystoscopies, scopes of the uterus, hysteroscopies, and many other procedures that we're very excited about. Our radiology department, all of our departments do an amazing, unbelievable job. Our radiology department alone in Los Angeles diagnosed these diseases you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. Stage 4 breast cancer. Patient didn't even know she had breast cancer, diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, right there at Pathway Los Angeles. Acute deep venous thrombosis, which is a clot in the leg, and that can break off and go to the lung. The patient can die. And so we were able to diagnose that right then and there. Hepatocellular carcinoma and a testicular cancer in a young man who, by God's grace, Glendale Adventist Medical Center took that patient to the surgery the very next day. The surgeon took him. Then they didn't just end there. They found that the cancer was actually contained. It had not spread throughout the rest of his body. Glendale gave him chemotherapy for nearly a year. And by God's grace, he is considered to be cured at this point. So again, thank you, volunteers. You are making a definite difference in patients' lives. So Pathway, Phoenix, what is practically required? By the way, that's me and my family and my 4 beautiful children, Hadassah, Nathaniel, Mariah, and Josiah, and myself, and we climbed up a very nice cliff up in Prescott. So what is required? Your best pathway to health. Many people ask this, and so we're going to talk just a few logistics as far as you as a volunteer, and particularly to our providers. You are covered. You do not need to worry. I've had this question come up both from organizations that participate. For example, one of our local medical schools was thinking of participating and volunteering, and they wanted to know if every single one of their providers and students would be covered, and the answer is yes, an affirmative, absolute yes. It's a $10 million coverage. Providers are normally provided a $1 million, $3 million coverage, so you are significantly more than the base coverage you have at your disposal. We have equipment and technology with capital over $1 million. We have a volunteer base that has over 8,500 volunteers within it. Currently, they're right near 2,000 volunteers that have signed up. I believe there's about 1,700 that are approved and 300 or thereabouts that are still in the process. But it's a wonderful thing. The Lord is truly blessing. Pathway does have, by God's grace, experience and credentialing and oversight, thanks to Kim Googe, who is in charge of our credentialing and everything else. Thank you, Kim. We have a very good credentialing department management, and we also handle governmental negotiations and connections. Many other people ask the question, well, what about the medical follow-up? We are worried from the medical perspective, are these patients just going to get dumped? And that is a concern, and it's a valid concern, and the answer is no. We work with many, many local clinics. We work with the Department of Public Health, and we are working for the Arizona Department of Public Health and many local clinics to be able to provide specialty follow-up if such a thing is needed, both for mental health and specialties. There are some requirements that we have, just like you would if you were an employee of any other hospital. Actually, there's a number of them, and we're not going through all of them right now because we don't have time, but we did want to answer just some general questions that continue to come up. So what is required, generally speaking? A happy spirit. If you can smile and you have a heartbeat, you can volunteer. And it gets long. The days are long. We start very early in the morning. Volunteers are asked to be there by 6 a.m. because doors open no later than 7. So a happy spirit, and of course that can only come from God. You cannot produce that in and of yourself. And I would ask you, between now and Christmas, spend your time every day with Jesus. You know, I can personally say that I don't get out of bed without having my special time with Jesus. You find the time that works with your schedule, but I promise you, if you have your special time with Jesus, he will give you grace and power to get through some difficulty and also the difficulties that you may encounter at Pathway. It is required that you be registered. I would ask that you would please share this with anyone and everyone you know. Today alone, I found at least 15 people that are planning to volunteer but have not yet registered. Please, please register. We are not able, and I want to make this very clear, we are not able to do on-site registration. Please spread the word. You must be registered. We will have a badge for you, and you must wear your badge at all times. And again, it's just like any other hospital. We have security, etc. reasons that we have to have badges, and everyone must be registered. And then another thing that we'll be talking much more in depth about, and you'll also be hearing about it extensively within your own department head meetings, is the appropriate chain of command. And that really is important. It's important in any corporation, but it's particularly very important in our situation because we have thousands of volunteers, we have thousands of patients, and when the chain of command is bypassed, you can imagine chaos occurs. So that's very important. You will be learning what that chain of command is. Don't worry, you don't need to worry about that tonight, but we would just ask that you would keep that in the back of your mind to be thinking about, and then ask your department heads about it as well. And then following the dress code, and we'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. So again, we have 307,000 square feet at the Phoenix Convention Center. We are very excited about that. Most of the information we've already talked about. I did want to mention one thing at the bottom of your screen. We are working with refugees this time around. So we are very excited. The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Arizona already has a group of Congolese, Rwandese, Thai, Burmese, Vietnamese, Iraq. Well, we don't really have much as far as Iraq, Iran, and Sudan are concerned, but we are reaching into these communities. And when this was mentioned to the mayor, we just had an appointment to meet with Mayor Stanton about a week and a half ago or so. When we met with him, actually Monday will be 2 weeks tomorrow. When we met with him, when he heard that we're placing an emphasis within our refugee communities, he was very, very excited about that. There's a lot of groups that basically the refugees get coverage for about a year or thereabouts, and then they're left on their own. And so we feel that it's a wonderful opportunity, in addition to our regular patient basis, to be able to reach these communities and not just reach them medically, but also offer other services such as ESL, helping them with business, etc. People often ask the question, how is the budget continued to be held? What is the budget? So it costs about $100 a patient. That's what we've seen statistically in pretty much every city we've gone to. It is we have corporate partnerships. Obviously, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, of which Pathway is a part of, participates, but they by no means fund the event. And so it's up to us to find corporate partners, sponsorship, individuals, people. You can volunteer to sponsor a patient. And by the way, this is of great need right now. Benny will be talking to us a little bit more in just a few minutes about that. Another thing that is absolutely vital, and I cannot stress this enough, because of our budgetary needs, is in-kind donations. I want to take you back a few years. Go back to 2013 when we were planning for that very first event in San Francisco and Oakland. By the way, there was no precedence before San Francisco and Oakland. It was a dream. It was an idea that I believe that God gave, but there was no precedence. We had no evidence. We had no idea what we were doing, truly, but we followed God's lead, and we had no budget. Our budget for the 3,200 patients that we serviced, or 3,100 patients in the 3 days, was $80,000, much of which was in-kind donations. So that wasn't even cash. There was a very small amount of that was cash. And we went into that event, no idea how we were going to do what we did, and the Lord provided. But one of the main ways that he provided was in-kind donations. Many, many, many of us, in fact, all of our department heads, put it upon themselves. And not just our department heads, individual volunteers, you who are listening right now, went out and sought corporations and sponsorship from the perspective of, okay, you might not have cash available left in your budget for the year, but could you donate from an in-kind perspective? Could you give us blankets? Could you give us clothes? Could you give us decorations so that we can make this a beautiful environment? Could you give us medical supplies, radiology equipment, all of these great things that we're going to talk about in just a few minutes that we need? And that's how we were able to make the event in San Francisco and Oakland a success for God. Of course, it had God's blessing. And that's how I believe we are going to be able to get through Phoenix as well, with the budgetary constraints. You may be thinking, okay, we're talking an $800,000 budget for Phoenix. We have slashed and slashed and slashed as much the budget we absolutely possibly can. And so even though, yes, it costs about $100 a patient, we are doing our very best to slash everything. And we need each and every one of you. Thank you so much to every one of you for being flexible and being Jesus' hands and feet, because this is truly the mission field right in our own backyard. We didn't have to fly across the world. We can actually be right here in our own backyard. These are just some collaborating local entities. I'm not going to take your time. Just make a note. Mayor Stanton, Governor Ducey, and many, many others. At this time, I'm going to just briefly introduce the meal situation. And again, this is one of those things that we would ask you to pray about, and thanking you ahead of time for your understanding and flexibility that this is a process of prayer. So by faith, these are the plans. By faith. Evening meals and noontime meals. We have always, since the beginning, have provided a free meal to the volunteers and to the patients between 11:30 and 1. So those patients who are within the facility between 11:30 and 1 receive a free meal. Statistically, we have determined how many patients that actually comes out to be, and also the volunteers. And there's very, very good reasons for that. Number one, I believe it's what Jesus wants us to do. Number two, many of these patients have waited all night long. They have not had anything to eat. Many of them are diabetic, they're hypoglycemic, and they need the food from a medical perspective. Number two, our volunteers. If our volunteers do not get a meal, first of all, each and every one of you are giving of your time and your resources, and it's such a blessing that each of you have volunteered. But if you leave, first, to have to go get a meal, it will basically shut the facility down. We will significantly decrease the number of patients that we can serve. And so right now we've encountered some problems with the city, allowing us to be in the convention center, allowing us to be able to serve the meal. We are in negotiations. That's one of the things that I met with the Rotary Club about on Friday. They're in negotiations with the city. We are trying our best. The Lord has a cattle on 1,000 hills or 2,000 hills or whatever the case may be. We know he'll work it out just as we've seen him work it out before, but it's something to earnestly pray about, and it's something to also pray about personally, that if you would like to donate toward this and sponsor some patients, that will definitely, definitely help. Another thing that is by faith, right now I'm going to state, and I've seen this happen, and I believe it's what the Lord wants us to do. In Beckley, West Virginia, we tried this out, and it was a great success. It had a huge impact. This is Christmas. Christmas, December 25, again, the day that we're celebrating as the gift of life through Jesus. What an opportunity to be able to, Christmas night, December 25 and 25th and the 26th, to be able to have an evening meeting where the patients and the physicians and the nurses and the dentists and the electricians and the plumbers and everybody get to sit down together, for those who are able, sit down together and have a banquet style meal together as we have a Christmas extravaganza. Basically, the gospel in action of why we're doing what we're doing. We saw this happen on a smaller scale in Beckley, West Virginia, and what an impact. The night of the 26th is going to be a powerhouse night. It's the night where all the dignitaries, it's the gratitude session, the dignitaries, the media, all are invited, and we've had every event, some very influential people come to that gratitude session. So by faith, we are asking, praying, and I am personally out fundraising for that evening dinner meeting to be able to serve the patients, and of course our noontime meals as well. We'll be talking more about the specifics of the Christmas extravaganza in later presentations, but it's going to be phenomenal. The night of the 26th, I believe it's what are we up to, 290 orchestra and choir. I might be even low on that number. It's going to be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. You're not going to want to miss it. Okay, at this time, Benny Moore, who's the Chief Financial Officer, is going to talk to us a little bit about the uniform situation and any other additional budgetary things that he may wish to discuss for us. I'll hand it over to you, Benny.
Okay, well, let me mention first, Leila was talking about the $100 cost per patient, which we have been able to, at least we're attempting to reduce for the Phoenix event. But I took a presentation, and I'd be glad to share this presentation with any of you, but I took a presentation to our Sabbath School, acceptance Sabbath School class at the Collegedale Church a week ago Sabbath. And after making the presentation and talking to them about the refugees, which we're hoping to have, and the additional numbers that that's giving us to have to deal with, they voted to give us $10,000 to be able to sponsor at least 100 additional patients for the event. Some of you could do this at your Sabbath schools. But anyway, I was really excited that they were willing to help us. And we also have, the last numbers I looked at, we had about 77 people coming from Tennessee. And we have a number that's coming from our acceptance Sabbath school that will help us with the event. As far as the uniforms are concerned, the uniform cost is, it is required, and the cost is $15 per shirt. We will provide shirts to everyone who comes, but if you don't buy them, then they need to be returned so that we can use them again, at least a couple other times. The exceptions there, if you want to mention that, if we have a group coming from an academy or the ASI Youth for Jesus exception we made for Beckley, we don't have that group with us this time. So you, Leila, might be able to explain better than I, even though it's fairly straightforward, the dress code.
Okay, so again, Christian, modest, and professional. We want the people to recognize that this is a professional event, just like you would at any hospital, any clinic. And so we ask, please, no jeans, no shorts. For ladies, skirts or slacks. And then specifically in the following 3 colors: tan, black, or navy blue, skirt or slacks. For the gentlemen, tan, black, or navy blue slacks. We, again, will provide the YBPTH polo shirts that you can see pictured here. This is the dental shirt color. Every department is coordinated with its specific color. And so dental just happens to be the gold yellow color. And every department, again, has its own. The children's program, Benny, did you want to add anything in this area? Would you prefer that I speak to this one?
The children's programs is something very, very important. Many of our volunteers have children, and many of our patients have children. And so we have children's programs for both the volunteers' kids and also for the patients' children. 2 separate programs. And then also we have children's programs during the evening meetings.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I do not believe George Gilbert is here yet. This is a picture looking at the volunteers in San Antonio. What an exciting, exciting opportunity. But guys, guess what? We've already surpassed the volunteer numbers for San Antonio. I am super, super excited. And again, San Antonio was 6,200 patients. I believe by God's grace, we are going to make between 7,000 to 8,000, and who knows? The sky's the limit. As Mr. Mellon said, don't limit God. Okay, George Gilbert is our Chief Operating Officer. Not tonight. We will be doing it at the next webinar session. We will be talking about the flow. This is just for you to look over. Again, this is recorded. This will be uploaded to our website, so you'll be able to read this, look at this at your leisure at a later time. We won't be going over this in detail right now. But again, 307,000 square feet of Phoenix Convention Center. Patient assistant transport, or hospitality used to be called, or PAT.
Escort services, Leela, just remember.
And I'm sorry, venue services. Okay, we've changed the name again.
Patient assistance and transport's too long.
Okay, well, the name changes. Venue services, or what is it called? What are you calling it? Patient
Escort services.
Escort, I'm so sorry, escort services. Well, whatever the case may be, hospitality escort services, these are the people that,
what do they do?
They are responsible for making sure the patients know exactly where to go. And so they walk with
escorting the people.
They walk with them and escort them from place to place. Medical information, again, we are a hospital, okay? This is a hospital. This is very vitally important. This is HIPAA compliant. All medical records must be kept in a normal HIPAA compliance fashion. And along those lines, we do not allow pictures. You may be thinking, oh my goodness, I just want to take a picture of this person or this procedure or that procedure. Individual pictures are not allowed. We are taking pictures. We do have the patients sign consent saying that our professional photographers and videographers are able to do that. But what we don't want is a lot of people with their cameras out, videoing different things. It's just not appropriate. And we wouldn't do that in a hospital either. Emergency response team for our medical professionals, and actually for everyone, please do not call 911. We have an emergency response team in-house. They will call 911 if it's necessary. So again, your department head will know the process. The department heads are meeting regularly. And they will know, but again, the chain of command is if you have a situation, you go immediately to your department head. The department head will notify the emergency response team, and then they will take it from there. We have an in-house formulary, just like every other event. For pharmacy and laboratory services, it is imperative, absolutely imperative, that we stick to the in-house formulary. I cannot stress that enough. No outside prescriptions are allowed. No outside laboratory services are allowed. It has to be what's on the printed list for you. In Los Angeles, we had a very strange incident where one of the providers, without discussing it with the department head, did a lumbar puncture on a patient and ordered a whole bunch of tests that Pathway ended up having to pay for, which thousands of dollars. We don't want that to happen. So again, if you have any questions whatsoever, again, follow the chain of command, go to your department head, and they will be able to resolve that question. If they are not, they will bump it up. I myself will get involved if necessary, but thank you so much. Let's all stick to the process so that we have no confusion. This is a sample of a previous events formulary. You'll see it there. Again, Dr. Fulford's doing a wonderful job. Again, we are adding conscious sedation. So that's a new exciting event, and we are covered for that. We do have the malpractice coverage for that. Here's a surgical consent and procedure form. You don't need to see, get into that in great detail. And here's an in-house referral form. Again, this is so, let's say the patient comes to gastroenterology and maybe they would like to get a massage. So you know on your list what different services are available, and we will have that for you to be able to look at. Again, we talked about this from a medical follow-up perspective. It's imperative to us to be able to have outside referrals if necessary. So here's the Los Angeles sample of the places that people can go, and that will be also available for Phoenix as well. Communication protocol, again, we'll be going over this in much greater detail later, but suffice it to say, please, that only those pieces of literature that have gone through the appropriate channels, have been cleared by the appropriate committees, etc., are allowed. So basically, please do not bring any outside literature, business cards, those kinds of things. This is not a health fair. We don't have booths everywhere. We're one organization, meaning that we've all come together as one collective group. That said, we do have a very prominent opportunity for our partners and both our business partners individually and also our corporate sponsors. And we list those logos very prominently and their names very prominently, plus they're all invited to the special gratitude session, etc. But what we don't have is, okay, the dental department was sponsored by XYZ company and the eye care by another company. Where we keep those all together in another source. This is just some sampling of bus ads that we've done. Many people ask, how do you do your advertising? We use bus ads, we use strategically placed billboards. We obviously do flyers. We've seen over and over and over again, every city we've gone to, that the best results are door-to-door invitations to come to the event. We're planning to hand out 500,000 invitations. So we need every single Phoenix volunteer willing and ready to get out there and invite the patients. How do we do continued whole person care? We're not going to spend much time on that this evening at all, except to say the patients will be going to the health information centers, which are various Seventh-day Adventist churches throughout the valley, to pick up their lab results, their pathology reports, glasses, etc. At those locations, the patients will be offered continued courses, and those courses will be various health seminars, Diabetes Undone, Depression Recovery, Natural Lifestyle Cooking School, Celebrations course, Living Longer, Living Stronger, and what's the other one that we just added? Evelyn Kissinger's course, another course as well. So we have a lot of different courses at the event. We will be spending a lot more time to go over this and tell you how you will assign your patient, or exit management will assign the patient to the appropriate follow-up course. And we're not going to take the time to explain it here, but suffice it to say there's a map and the patients are able to choose both by language and also by course and need where they will be offered. Hours of operation, this is just a week at a glance. Very briefly, on December the 24th, we will be having setup, 8:30 a.m. event setup. We ask everyone, as many as possible, we need lots and lots and lots of manpower for that setup and also for the takedown. So even if you can't volunteer on the rest of the days, if you know other people who can help with setup and takedown, that is vitally important. December 25, Monday, is the first day of the event. Like we already mentioned, 6 a.m. That's when the volunteers are asked to show up. Oh, let me go back. I'm so sorry. At 7 p.m., 5 p.m. on December 24, we will have a mandatory final general training session at the convention center. Then at 7 p.m., you'll meet with your department heads thereafter. And then at 7 p.m., we're going to have an amazing Christmas Eve program. You're not going to want to miss it. It is specifically for the volunteers. So it's going to be a very exciting opportunity to really come together and get excited about what God is going to do over the next 2.5 days. 6 a.m. December 25, Christmas morning. Arrive at the event. The doors open at 7 a.m. We will continue to see patients until 5 p.m. Between 5:30 and 6:30 p.m. will be an evening meal, depending on how the evening meal goes. And by faith, I believe we are going to get the money and the resources to be able to offer that meal to the patients. And thereby, we ask that you would please be flexible on the exact times, because it's going to depend on how we can work it. Right now, by the next time we have our next training, we hope to be able to really pinpoint down those times. The night of the 26th is going to essentially be exactly the same process for the day. The night of the 26th will be the gratitude session, like we said already, where the dignitaries, etc., will be coming and joining us, and that will be an amazing Christmas program. You are not going to want to miss that. That is going to be a super, super high night. Humongous orchestra, amazing choir between the Marcelier brothers and their family, unbelievable musicians leading out in this great, we call it music therapy. So it's going to be unbelievable experience. And then on the 27th,
Leela, we're going to have to cut this short because we've got a few questions that we need to take care of.
Okay, this is the last.
We'll talk about this later as well.
Okay, this is the last thing that I'm going to add. On the 27th, again, the same process, but we will be breaking down that afternoon. So we need as many people as possible to show up for that. Current needs, these are the needs that we need. We've already talked about most of them, but again, going to the various facilities and the different organizations, companies, etc., asking for in-kind donation, we will be sending that information to you. We are in desperate need of radiology equipment. Anyone that can help us with portable x-ray units and mammography units, please get in contact with myself. Various supplies, you can see those lists there. Again, going to department stores, corporate sponsors, etc. We have donation packets that we can provide to you as well. I'm going to just cut it short here. At this point, I do want to end with the statement that here's a picture of, we're going to call him John. John's life was changed, and he got his tooth fixed, but miraculously, by God's grace, he went straight from the event, and he was able to, first of all, he was touched physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and he was able to go straight from there and get a job. So God makes a difference in these patients' lives. I'm going to go ahead and close with prayer, and then we're going to spend a couple minutes on questions. Dear Father in heaven, thank you so, so much for everything that you've done. Thank you for bringing us together as a group of volunteers to work with you. We ask that you would please bless our planning, that you would please direct our plans, and that we would be able to service the maximum number of patients for your praise and glory. Thank you again. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Okay, Benny, can you ask us a question?
Do you have to be a Seventh-day Adventist in order to volunteer?
That is an excellent question, and the answer is an absolute no. We welcome anyone and everyone that would like to volunteer, and thank you for asking that question. Next question.
Will we be having women's health?
Yes, I'm a gynecologist, and absolutely, we have a full women's health department, and I believe Dr. Wong, I believe, is the head of our women's health department, and we are ecstatic about that. In fact, the head of our surgery department is Dr. Linda, who's also a gynecologist. Next question.
Okay, will this be available for replay? I can't get it on the phone right now, and it will be available. It is being recorded, and it will be available. And if you go to our website, there should be some information there. You certainly can email us, but you can actually, if you registered for the event, you can go back in and you'll be able to replay it right on the GoToWebinar website.
Excellent. Next question.
Okay. Okay, I've got a lot of different ones, and some we've already dealt with. If we have a shirt from LA, can we use that?
Yes, absolutely. Same colors, same shirts. As long as it's a Pathway shirt, yes. And you're going to be working in the same department. Assuming you're working in the same department, yes.
And if
and that's the good thing, by the way. By the way, I want to add one thing. That's the really nice thing about buying the shirts, is because again, our volunteers, we all know once you come, you're kind of addicted. So you get to keep that shirt and you get to reuse it over and over again at as many volunteer events that you can come to.
People are asking about fundraising and how can people donate, and they can go to either one of our websites, either the volunteer website or the Pathway to Health one, which is for the general public. and there is a link there to be able to make donations. And can we offer tax
As
receipts?
far as fundraising, I want to address that real quick.
Well,
So as far as,
they need to know that they are deductible from a tax standpoint because we are under the General Conference 501c3, and all of the deductions, I mean, everything that is donated is deductible from a tax standpoint.
and so again, from whether that be in-kind donations, if you guys go out to the corporations, and like I asked before, you know, anyone willing to go out to the different, like we've gone to Walmart, to Lowe's, to Home Depot, Michael's, all of these different places, and particularly for our decorations. You can see in this picture, you can see all the beautiful plants. I mean, those were borrowed plants from Home Depot for our event. Thousands upon thousands of dollars. You can see on the tables, beautiful decorations. We need help in this area. We have no budget for decorations. That's just one small area. So if anybody wants to help with that, if they want to go to department stores and ask for brand new clothes, again, we have the corporate sponsorship packets. You need to request those from Susanna, and we will get that. Perhaps, Benny, we can also get a link on the website where they can just have that corporate sponsorship information. Next question, please.
I am a physician assistant. Will I be seeing patients?
Yes, as long as you got appropriate licensure. If I'm not saying something correctly, if Kim wants to pipe in here, but I believe PAs are covered and have appropriate licensure, but you've got to get your application in. Kim, is that correct?
That is correct. And please, if you register, I will send you the link to go ahead and fill that out.
And that goes for all the volunteers. Please make sure you've taken care of your appropriate registration and your licensure. Next question, please.
You have to be registered to help with setup and takedown, if that's the only thing
No.
you'll be volunteering for.
No, you do not need to be registered if you're going to help with setup and takedown. We appreciate that very much. And no, you do not have to register.
How can we get an extra shirt, and how much?
$15, and you can get that. Is it set up on the website, Benny? I believe it was. Kim, is that correct?
It will be set up on the registration site within the next 10 days, and we'll send out information on that.
Okay, so again, you can go to the website. You can purchase your shirt ahead of time. The children also have shirts, so just so everyone knows. Again, I want to clarify that. I'm not sure that we got that across in previous events ahead of time. We do have a children's program that runs simultaneously to the event, so you do not need to worry about your children. It is an amazing program. The kids get to be little missionaries too. They get to make presents and wrap them up and get to come down and give them to the patients. They get to sing to the patients, hand out water. It's a wonderful opportunity for them as well. Next question.
Is there a letter that can be provided to Ask Clothing Stores for clothing donations?
Yes, we have that already together. So again, you need to request that, please, from Susanna, and we can get that for you. Susanna Facundo is my administrative assistant.
This is for Kimberly. I do not see Women's Health on the list to register.
If you're a professional, Women's Health is down under currently licensed medical professionals, and go to Women's Services. It's at the bottom if you scroll all the way to the bottom.
Next question.
Is it a major issue if someone cannot make the mandatory training session? My flight arrives in Phoenix the morning of the 25th.
It's understandable. There's always some providers and volunteers that are not able to make it, but we would ask that, department heads, by the way, within the week, you will be notified. Every department will be, every volunteer will be notified by your department head of your upcoming individual department meetings. So you will be having your own webinars or phone casts if you haven't already had those. You will be able to do most of that information there, but yes, if you can't make it, understand, but we really do ask that you make it.
How do we donate money for the event? You can do that by sending it to the address. I think I sent it out to all of you, but it's Post Office Box 1252, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Or you can go to the website, either the volunteer website or the public website, and make your donations there. That's the way most of them come, but we get them both ways. Also, if you happen to live in Arizona, you can donate it through your church or direct to the conference.
And it's probably a little easier just to go through the website or mail it directly.
Right.
Okay, next question.
At what specific time will musical volunteers perform?
That I will leave to Mr. Claudio Marcelier. He is orchestrating and working all of that. And he told me today, I was with him today. We're wearing our Administrative Pathway to Health shirt. I was with him today, and he will be getting to you just like all the other department heads within the next week, and you will be finding that information out.
One shirt per day, or where would we wash?
So that's a very good question. So what people have previously done, most people end up purchasing another one, but not everyone. Some people wash it out in the sink. It's kind of a Barbara, what do you call that material? Polyester? Is it polyester? It dries very quickly. So some people will wash it. I'm sorry? It's
polyester.
Okay, it dries very quickly. So some people did wash it, and other people, which is, I would recommend that because we are a health organization, and it's not quite so great to have stinky clothes.
Right.
But
you
can also wear a shirt. You can wear a shirt underneath that shirt, which is what other volunteers did. But then again, you can purchase another one.
Right. But you can also, if you want to drive them, going on mission trips as many times as I have, I've learned you roll them in a towel and step on them and get all the water out, and they will be dried very quickly.
And it is polyester. Okay, we are at 7 o'clock. Benny, one last question, and then we'll have to wrap it up here.
Okay, just wondering what the pharmacy tech color is. Does anybody remember?
I don't have the list, but next webinar, don't miss it. Make sure all of your fellow volunteers attend. You will get all of that kind of specific information. Okay, it is after 7. We promised we would be done at 7. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and pray one more time, and then I want to let everyone go. Thank you so much. Dear Father in heaven, thank you again so much for what you're doing. I praise you ahead of time how you're going to move out these barriers just like you have in other cities. We are looking forward to what you have in store, and we ask that you would give us each a special blessing of your Holy Spirit to give us wisdom and guidance this coming week and in the weeks to come. Help us to get the remainder of the volunteers that we need, optometrists, eye care professionals, and all the other specialties. And again, thank you for this wonderful, wonderful blessing of an opportunity.